The moment Connie dragged her roller bag through the suite door and said, "Oh good, you got us the nicer one," I knew this weekend was going to be a disaster. My name's Ryan Whitmore. I'm 31 years old, live just outside Richmond, Virginia. I got engaged to Melanie after 2 years of dating. Thought I knew what I was signing up for. Clearly I didn't. She hadn't even asked if her parents could stay with us. Just told them we'd figured it out. I'd booked 2 regular rooms for our families at the lodge. Suddenly her mom and dad show up and plant themselves in the upgraded suite I reserved for my parents. Connie didn't blink. We'll need some extra towels. And maybe another comforter. Stuart likes to nap with one. I just stood there, jaw tight, wondering what gave her the damn confidence. Before I could say anything, my dad, Hank, walked in behind me. Retired Marine, all shoulders and suspicion. He tried to lighten the mood. "Well, this takes me back," he said, dropping his overnight bag with a thud. "Remember when we first met these fine folks, Rye? Felt like prepping for a tactical op." Connie laughed like it was charming. "Oh, Hank, always so intense." That first meeting burned into my brain. Melanie had just said yes a week earlier, long before that lodge weekend, and we met her parents at this old diner near her place in Arlington. I wore slacks and a polo, nothing flashy, just tried to look clean-cut, respectful. They walked in like they were late to a country club board meeting. Connie had on pearls and a sharp blazer. Stuart wore a sweater over his shoulders and didn't take off his sunglasses till the food came. I stood up to shake hands, but Stuart barely looked at me, just muttered, "Hey," and sat down, already scrolling through his phone. Connie slid into the booth across from me and skipped the small talk. "So Ryan, what do you do again? And is it stable? Like, long-term stable?" I told her I worked in systems analysis for a logistics firm. Benefits, pension, good track record. She nodded like she was filling out a checklist. "And your parents? Are they able to contribute to the wedding financially?" "No, congrats." "No. How did you propose?" Just straight into the math. Meanwhile, Melanie just smiled awkwardly and played with her straw. Stuart didn't say a single word till the waitress asked what he wanted. Connie grilled me the rest of the meal like I was applying for a mortgage. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I remember walking out of that diner thinking, did I just survive an interview or lose one? I brushed it off then. Figured it was nerves or maybe old school parenting. Now, standing in this hotel suite while Connie fluffed the pillows like she owned the place, I realized that wasn't nerves. That was the Bennetts being the Bennetts. My dad caught my eye and mouthed, "Here we go." I didn't say a word, just grabbed my bag and followed him back out to the lobby to sort out the mess. I didn't even make it back from the lobby before Connie texted me. "Do you know if a landlord can charge 2 months' rent up front in Virginia?" That was the first of many. A week after the hotel suite stunt, Melanie's parents started using my number like I was on call. It started small, legal questions mostly, stuff they could have Googled in under 30 seconds. Connie'd send me scanned PDFs of lease agreements with notes in red pen like I was her paralegal. "Just need your quick opinion," she'd write, at 8 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, while I was trying to wrap up work emails and reheat leftovers. Then she followed up that same night with a photo of their living room. "Thinking of redoing the walls in taupe. You're good with colors, right? Thoughts?" I hadn't even responded to the lease thing yet. Next day, Stuart called me during a meeting. I let it go to voicemail, and he left a message like we were old drinking buddies. "Hey Ryan, think you could swing by and help with the new TV setup? Mel's got a manicure, so she's tied up." Tied up. That's what he said. Like lifting a remote was out of her pay grade. I brought it up to Melanie that night. Told her I was swamped, and honestly, feeling like their personal assistant. She didn't even look up from her laptop. They're just trying to connect with you. It's their way. By treating me like Geek Squad and a free legal hotline, she sighed, finally glancing up. "You're being kind of sensitive. They like you. That's why they ask." I just stared at her. "No, they use me because you let them. That's different." She didn't say anything. Just went back to typing like we were done here. And that's when it really started to settle in. This wasn't temporary. This was how it was gonna be. Me running around for her parents while she played buffer with zero backbone. It didn't slow down. Stuart called again that weekend to ask what internet provider I used. I told him Comcast. He said, "Cool, can you just come by and set it up for us? I hate those menus." Then Connie left a voicemail at 9:30 p.m. one night, chipper as ever. "Hi, sweetie, quick one. Would you mind calling the HOA president tomorrow? Our neighbor's grass is too long and Stuart doesn't want to stir the pot." That was the straw. I didn't answer. I stopped replying to anything unless it was from Melanie herself, and even those started to feel like tasks. One night, Connie called 3 times in a row. I finally picked up thinking maybe something serious had happened. Nope. "Oh, good, you're there." I told Stuart, "I bet Ryan picks up on the 3rd ring." She laughed like we were on a sitcom. "Anyway, I just wanted to say how grateful we are to have you in the family. Most guys wouldn't be so available. You should feel really lucky we're including you already." My jaw locked. I managed a flat, "Sure," and hung up. That hit different. Lucky to be treated like a doormat with a phone plan. I didn't bring it up to Melanie again right away. Didn't see the point. Her pattern was always the same. Shrug, deflect, defend. I stopped answering their texts after 9 p.m. I stopped showing up for random errands. When Stuart asked about a Costco run, I told him I was out of town. I wasn't. I was home, with the blinds shut and my phone on silent. But the guilt started creeping in. Not because I felt bad for them, because I started to wonder if this was the rest of my life. If I married Melanie, I was signing up for all of it. Every late-night favor. Every ask disguised as inclusion. Every time she shrugged instead of standing up for me. And the worst part, she never even noticed the shift. Never once asked me if I was okay. Never once told them to stop. The next week, Melanie said, "Let's do a nice dinner downtown with my parents, just the 4 of us." The way she said nice gave me a stomach flip. Her voice was too casual, too rehearsed. Like the idea didn't come from her. I said, "Why?" She blinked like I'd asked if we were breaking up. "Because they want to connect more. Isn't that what you wanted?" "Not like this," but I nodded. "Sure." We met at this place called River and Oak. White tablecloths, soft jazz in the background, prices with no dollar signs. I wore a collared shirt. Stuart showed up in some obnoxious navy blazer with gold buttons, like he was heading to a yacht club. Connie was already talking to the host before I got to the door. Melanie kissed me on the cheek. "Let's have fun tonight, okay?" We were barely seated before Connie said, "Do you think the scallops here are flown in daily or frozen?" "I'm sure they're fresh," I said, flipping open the menu and pretending the prices didn't punch me in the face. $48 for lobster, $62 for the filet. They didn't even hesitate. "I'll do the surf and turf," Connie said. "I'll have the lobster and the Cabernet," Stuart added, handing the menu back without looking at the server. Melanie ordered the filet and a glass of red. I went with grilled chicken. Stuart raised his glass halfway through the meal. "You're doing well for yourself, yeah? Don't skimp out now." I looked at him, deadpan. "Excuse me?" He smirked like we were sharing some joke. "Just saying it's a special night." Melanie gave me this tight smile, like, please don't make a thing out of it, so I didn't. I nodded, sipped my water, and stared at the steak bleeding on his plate. The bill came in a little leather folder that might as well have been ticking. I opened it. $2.76, not including tip. I waited, just held it open. Nobody moved. Connie dabbed the corners of her mouth with her napkin. "Oh, shoot. Stuart, do you have your wallet?" Stuart patted his blazer like it had suddenly grown new pockets. "Damn, left it in the car." Melanie kept sipping her wine, eyes on the ceiling. I looked at her. "Mel?" She didn't even blink. "I think mine's in my gym bag." I switched purses. I laughed once, just once, through my nose. Pulled out my card and handed it to the waiter. "Thank you," Connie said, all sugar. "You're so generous, Ryan." We walked out of that restaurant like nothing happened. Connie was humming. Stuart was bragging about the wine's finish. I stayed quiet until we reached the valet stand. Melanie slipped her arm through mine. "Thanks for being cool about dinner," she said. "Well, that was really sweet." I didn't answer. I didn't even nod. Sweet. That's what she called it. Like I just brought her a cupcake. We got in my car, and the silence sat between us like a 5th passenger. At a red light, I asked, "You knew they weren't going to pay, didn't you?" She stared out the window. "They probably just assumed you had it." "It's not a big deal. It is to me." "Well," she said, shrugging, "it's not like you can't afford it." I gripped the wheel harder. "That's not the point, Mel. It's not about the money. It's the fact that you all sat there waiting for me to pick up the bill like it was some unspoken rule." She said nothing, not even an apology. That dinner, it didn't feel like a misunderstanding. It felt like a setup, a test, or worse, a routine. Like they'd done this before, and she was in on it. Back at her place, she kissed me goodnight, like everything was normal. I went home with that $2.76 still burning in my wallet and a knot in my gut I couldn't shake. I waited a couple days before I brought it up. We were sitting on Melanie's couch, watching some Netflix documentary neither of us was really into. I paused it and said, "So that dinner, Was that normal? She looked at me like I'd asked if she believed in aliens. What do you mean? I kept my tone calm. I mean, do your parents usually pull that forgot our wallets trick? Because that didn't feel like a one-off. She rolled her eyes. Oh my God, are we still on this? Yeah, we are. They probably just assumed you'd take care of it. It's not that deep. It is when nobody even pretends to offer. She crossed her arms. You're making something out of nothing. That's just how they are. That line hit me harder than the bill. That's the problem, I said. You keep excusing it. Like, I'm supposed to be okay getting played because it's just how they are. They mean well, Ryan. I stared at her. She didn't get it. She wasn't trying to get it. Later that night, Connie texted me again. Hey, any chance you can swing by tomorrow to tighten the curtain rods? Stuart tried, but the brackets are all crooked lol. No greeting, no, how are you? Just another task. I didn't answer. I didn't even open it. That week, I stopped picking up when they called. Sent Stuart to voicemail. Left Connie on red. I figured if they wanted a handyman, they could hire one. But Melanie noticed. You're being standoffish, she said one morning over coffee. I'm setting boundaries, I said. They're just trying to stay close. Close is asking how I'm doing, I snapped. Not sending me a to-do list every other day, she scoffed. You act like they're abusing you. I'm acting like I'm not their damn intern. She stormed out of the kitchen and didn't talk to me for the rest of the day. I sat there for a while, just staring at the cold coffee in my mug, thinking about what this really was. I wasn't marrying just her. I was marrying into this. Into curtain rods and dinner scams and guilt-tripping phone calls. Into being expected to handle everything while she stood on the sidelines, arms folded. I used to picture a life with her. Dog in the backyard, couple kids, weekend trips. Now I couldn't get past the next family gathering. I didn't want to feel bitter every time her phone lit up. I didn't want to flinch every time Connie said, real quick favor. And most of all, I didn't want to marry someone who didn't have my back when it counted. I didn't say any of that out loud, not yet. But I was getting close. A few days later, Melanie brought it up like she was pitching a weekend getaway to a couple of toddlers. I was thinking, she said, real bright. Why don't we do a big family weekend? You know, your parents, mine, somewhere nice. Finally get everyone together. I stared at her. Like a forced retreat? She frowned. Don't be dramatic. It'll be good. They've only met once. Barely. She wasn't wrong. My parents had been asking when they'd get to actually know Melanie's side. I'd stalled. Now, here she was, pushing this hard, like we were all on equal footing. Where? I asked, already bracing. There's this lodge near the Shenandoah. It'll be perfect for everyone. I blinked. You mean I found it? You used my hotel rewards account. She waved her hand. Whatever. It's just for one weekend. You've got the means. That line. Again. Like my savings account was public property. You told your mom I'd cover it? She hesitated for half a second. Yeah. I mean, it just made sense. You already had the reservation system set up. I didn't say anything right away. Just nodded. I called my folks that night. Told them the plan. My dad, Hank, let out this half-laugh, half-grunt. About time, he said. Let's see what they're made of. My mom, Denise, was more diplomatic. Maybe it'll help smooth things over. Neutral ground and all. I didn't have the heart to tell her there was nothing neutral about it. The lodge was nice. Too nice. Pricey, polished, pretentious. I booked 3 rooms under my name. One for me and Melanie, one for my parents, and one for hers. It felt like stacking dominoes and waiting for the ceiling fan to turn on. Melanie texted her mom the sweet confirmation without even checking with me. Just fired it off like she was booking her own vacation. I asked her, "Are you even going to offer to help with the cost?" She smirked. "Babe, you know I'd pay if I could, but you're the planner. You like doing this stuff." I stared at her for a beat too long. She turned away like it was nothing. The day before the trip, I sat on my bed staring at the printed itineraries like they were warning labels. I wasn't excited. I was already exhausted because I knew what was coming. I'd be stuck in the middle again, pulled between 2 families who had no business sharing a zip code, much less a weekend. And for the first time, I wasn't just nervous. I was ready for someone to show their true colors. We pulled up to the lodge around 11 a.m. Big stone entrance, valet waiting, landscaping so clean it looked fake. I hadn't even shut the car door before Connie was pointing at the building like she was about to lead a walking tour. "Ooh, that must be the suite floor," she said, already reaching for her purse. I love when there's private elevator access. Melanie grabbed the luggage from the trunk like nothing was off. I stayed quiet, jaw tight. Inside, I gave my name at the front desk. The guy typed for a while, frowning. Mr. Whitmore, looks like we have one deluxe suite and 2 standard kings under your reservation. The other suite wasn't available due to a late cancellation. I blinked. That's not what I booked. Apologies, sir. Happy to offer a spa credit to make up for it. Before I could respond, Connie leaned over the counter. Perfect. We'll take the suite then. I turned to her. That was for my parents. She smiled like I was joking. Oh, Ryan, you've got it, right? We're used to a certain level of comfort. I started to push back, but Melanie slid in between us. Babe, come on. They're older. They should be comfortable. It's just polite. My dad, standing a few feet back with his arms crossed, said nothing. My mom looked around like she didn't want to be part of this. Connie clapped once. Settled then! I turned toward the desk, eyes locked on the poor kid behind it. Give them the suite, for now. Dad walked up beside me, calm as ever. We'll see how this plays out after lunch. The way he said it made Connie pause, but only for a second. We went to the lodge restaurant. Seated at a big table near the window, everyone ordered fast. Melanie got a salad. Connie asked the waitress if the steak was grass-fed, twice. Stuart ordered a bottle of wine for the table, then poured only himself and Connie a glass. Halfway through the meal, the jab started. This place is cozy, Connie said, glancing at my parents. Very practical. My mom smiled politely. We like places that don't take themselves too seriously. Oh, I didn't mean it as a bad thing. You two are just simple folk. Refreshing, honestly. I looked over. My dad had paused mid-bite. My mom kept her face still, but I saw it. The quick blink. The tiny nod. Like she'd just taken a hit and refused to show it. Some people value humility, my dad said, voice flat. Stuart chuckled. We're just more refined. Different tastes, that's all. Melanie sipped her water. No defense, no correction, nothing. I looked at her. She wouldn't even meet my eyes. After lunch, we walked back to the front desk. Connie stopped short, pointed to the elevator. We'll just go get settled in the suite now. I stepped forward. Actually, we should talk about that. Connie whipped around. Talk about what? It's already done. I need the larger bathroom, and Stuart's back acts up in small beds. Melanie jumped in. Ryan, don't make this harder than it needs to be. My mom didn't say a word. She stared at the floor like she was shrinking into it, but I saw her hands clench. That was enough. My dad placed a hand on my shoulder. Don't worry, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Let's get this straight after lunch, just like I said. He turned to Connie, calm as ever. You all go ahead. We'll catch up. Connie hesitated for the first time all day. She smiled, but it twitched. Of course, she said, just trying to keep things civil. Stuart didn't say a word, just followed her to the elevator like this was some royal procession. Melanie leaned in. Can you just not make a scene, please? I looked her dead in the eye. Don't worry, I won't need to. We stepped back into the lobby just as Connie was trying to sweet-talk the front desk clerk again. I just want to make sure the pillows are down alternative, not feather, she said, tapping the counter. Stuart's sinuses. He's very sensitive. The clerk glanced at me, then at my dad, like he wasn't sure who was actually in charge anymore. I asked you nicely, Ryan, Connie said, spinning around. Please don't make this a thing. You made it a thing the second you assumed I'd pay for it, I said. She scoffed. Why are we dragging this out? Just be a gentleman and give us the suite. What's the big deal? I opened my mouth, but my dad stepped forward and said calmly, Enough. The room went still. My mom looked up. Melanie froze, mid-sentence. My dad's voice didn't rise, but it carried. Let me explain something, Mrs. Bennett, he said, eyes locked on Connie. We're not guests here, we're owners. She blinked. Excuse me? We own this lodge, he said, and 4 others like it across Virginia. This whole building, it has our name on the deed. So no, you're not taking the suite. And no, my son won't be paying for your room. Connie stared at him like she was glitching. Stuart looked like he'd just swallowed his tongue. Melanie went pale, full ghost mode. Then the hotel manager, who'd been standing nearby, walked up with sudden urgency. Mr. Whitmore, he said, nodding toward my dad. His tone had shifted. No more casual front desk politeness. It was full-on customer service mode. Apologies for the earlier confusion. We'll make sure the correct rooms are assigned right away. Appreciate it, my dad said. We'll be taking the suite. The Bennetts can have the standard king. The manager nodded again and walked off, typing into his tablet. Connie didn't move. She looked from me to my dad to the front desk like someone had just flipped the script mid-play. Well, she said after a long beat, I had no idea you were in hospitality, Hank. That's just inspiring. He didn't respond. She chuckled nervously. Owning 5 properties? That's impressive. Really impressive. We've always loved boutique hotels, haven't we, Stuart? Stuart nodded like a bobblehead. Connie took a step toward my mom. Denise, is it? You must have the most amazing eye for design. The lounge area here is so warm. My mom gave a tight smile. We just like to keep things simple, remember? Connie laughed too loud. Oh, come on now. I was just teasing earlier. Sure you were, my dad said flatly. Melanie finally spoke. Why didn't you ever tell me about this? Her voice was small. I turned to her. You never asked. She blinked, like the weight of that answer had just landed on her chest. I turned back to the desk, grabbed the new keys from the manager, and handed my parents the suite key. My dad didn't gloat, didn't smirk. He just nodded and said, thank you. Connie was still trying to salvage the moment. So, are your other properties nearby? I'd love to see them sometime. I didn't answer. I walked over to Melanie and handed her the second room key. You and your parents can take the king. She looked at me, confused. What about you? I'm staying in the suite with my parents. Melanie followed me down the hall, practically jogging to keep up. Ryan, wait. Her voice was breathy, half laughing, like she couldn't believe what just happened. This is amazing. Your family owns all this? We should move up the wedding. I stopped walking, turned around slowly. What? She smiled, eyes wide. I mean, now it all makes sense. Your dad's so composed. He's used to being in charge. It's honestly impressive. You should have told me sooner. I stared at her, letting the silence hang. That's what you got out of this? I asked finally. She tilted her head. What do you mean? You didn't care when your mom was walking all over me. You didn't care when she insulted my parents. But the second you realize we've got money, suddenly you're proud to be a Whitmore? She blinked, her smile starting to fade. Ryan, that's not fair. No, Mel. What's not fair is thinking I'd still marry into a family that treats mine like dirt. She froze. What are you saying? I'm saying there's not going to be a wedding. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She just stared at me, eyes glassy, searching for the old version of me who used to cave when she got upset. You're serious, she whispered. Dead serious. You're just angry. You'll calm down. Not this time. Right then, Connie stormed around the corner, voice already rising. What the hell is going on? Melanie said you're calling off the engagement? Melanie tried to shush her. Mom, no, I want to hear him say it, Connie snapped. After everything we've done for you, you're just walking away? You're ungrateful, Ryan. You're blowing a perfect opportunity. Opportunity for who? I said. She jabbed a finger toward my chest. For you, to marry into a family with connections, with standards. Do you know how many people would kill to be in your position? My dad appeared behind her, calm as a shadow. That's enough. Connie turned on him. Excuse me? He didn't flinch. You've insulted my wife, disrespected my son, and made a spectacle in our property. You're done here. She laughed once, sharp and brittle. You can't just... He pulled out his phone. Watch me. Within a minute, the manager from earlier came rushing down the hall with 2 uniformed security guards. Connie's voice jumped an octave. This is outrageous. We are guests. My dad folded his arms. Not anymore. The guard stopped beside her. Ma'am, we need you to gather your belongings. Stuart showed up just in time to see the scene unravel. He looked at the guards, then at Connie, then muttered, Let's just go. But Connie wasn't done. She pointed at me. You'll regret this. She was your chance at a real life. I met her glare, steady. No, Connie, this is a real life, one where I don't have to buy anyone's respect. She went quiet, mouth tight, eyes darting between me and my dad. Security led them toward the elevator. Melanie trailed behind, still staring at me like she didn't recognize the guy standing in front of her. I didn't say another word. I just watched the doors close on the Bennetts, and for the first time since I said yes to her, I actually felt free. Security walked Connie and Stuart straight out through the lobby. She was still yapping, trying to turn it into a scene, but nobody stopped to help. Not the front desk, not the other guests. Just her voice echoing off the stone walls as she fought against reality. I deserve an explanation. We were invited. Stuart trailed behind with his suitcase, head down, like he'd finally figured out no one was clapping for him. Melanie caught my arm before I could turn away. Ryan, wait, please. I didn't answer. Her eyes welled up. You can't mean this. You can't just walk away from everything we've built. I looked her dead in the eye. Everything we've built was one-sided, and I'm done building alone. She shook her head, voice trembling. Is this really the end? I nodded once. It's too late, Mel. She didn't cry. She just stood there, stunned, like the moment finally clicked. But too late to fix it. I walked outside where my parents were waiting by the car. We drove home in silence, the kind of quiet that wasn't awkward, just heavy. My dad kept his eyes on the road. My mom stared out the window. Somewhere past Fredericksburg, my mom finally said, "Proud of you, son." That was it. Simple. Enough. The next week, I went back to work. Same desk, same routine, but for the first time in months, my head was clear. My phone didn't buzz with quick favors. I didn't dread every call. I wasn't waiting for someone to guilt me into giving more than I had. I didn't feel broken. I felt free. A month later, I booked a solo trip to Lake Anna. Just me, a rented cabin, and a fishing rod. No group chat, no itinerary, no pressure. The first morning, I walked down to the dock before sunrise. Coffee in hand, hoodie pulled tight. The water was still. Not quiet, just peaceful. I dropped my line in the water and sat there. No buzzing phone, no fake smiles, no games.